We'll now move on to speaker number 3, who is Sarp Kazir. Mr. Kazir, if you would like to take the floor, we'd look forward to hearing from you.
Oh, unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thanks for pronouncing my name properly.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking the time to come and speak to us.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay. When the rate of shootings and killings by law enforcement goes up so much that people from every walk of life and background are outraged, when the purchasing of armored vehicles and paramilitary equipment increases faster than the rate at which policing actually gets better, when the bar is so low that police with dozens of social media accounts and a giant PR machine behind them expect a pat on the back for not killing everyone they come into contact with, it's time to have a serious conversation about why policing as a concept in a modern society is imploding and failing the most marginalized populations and should no longer qualify for funding increases. When it comes to asking for basic accountability from a system that murders Black and Indigenous people on a regular basis, it's like threading the Titanic through the eye of a sewing needle. But when it comes to the police asking for more deadly force to deal with a growing population, all of a sudden the eye of that needle becomes as wide as the Atlantic Ocean. As a result, in the minds of those who are most threatened by the system, the next logical step is to ensure that the system, which displays a clear and present danger to our peaceful existence, is dismantled and defunded. Wanting anything less would mean that police violence should still be accepted as a part of normal life. Defunding the police is not just about taking money from one envelope and putting it in another, as Ralston King stated when he spoke to the CBC. Defunding the police is about stopping suspended officers or officers that are under investigation from getting paid or receiving their pensions. It's about not arbitrarily stretching operational scopes and budgets that lead to more militarization. It's about reining in back office procurements that lead to unregulated and unvetted purchases of paramilitary equipment. It's about stopping politicians from pretending that cops can also act as care workers, mental health professionals, and community builders, while they have a racist bias program into their heads and deadly weapons strapped to their bodies. Saying I need a cop to talk to when I'm experiencing psychological distress is like saying I need a carpet cleaner when I want to change my tires. It's about acknowledging that the Ottawa Police shouldn't act as a bank account for community funding where the conditions for monetary access means you need to create an uncomfortable alliance with an organization that upholds white supremacy. Last year at a community safety meeting in Centertown, Chief of Police Peter Slowly said that community groups should not expect crumbs for funding. As long as they agree to work with the police, there will be plenty of money for them. This form of financial benefit trafficking and gatekeeping is also a major conflict of interest because while the chief claims that he will advocate on behalf of human rights groups, human rights atrocities are being committed by police forces at the same time. Additionally, when Councillor King described the notion of defunding the police as something that isn't possible at a municipal level because the province decides everything, he was wrong. According to Councillor Sean Menard, City Council appoints the Police Services Board with a majority. They can and should communicate council and community priorities when the budget is being drafted. In this case, they shouldn't ignore the thousands who took to the streets in Ottawa and emailed and phoned us. Council can also pass motions which indicate its preference. Hiding behind the "we can't do it" argument ignores the fact that council can ask the province for changes to police oversight. Additionally, when councillors bring up the concept of addressing root causes of crime, they cherry pick issues within communities that are the easiest to criminalize and focus on adding dismally underfunded programs which do nothing to address root causes. Even the process of identifying root causes is determined by a racist set of core principles that are influenced by the police, only wanting to increase a dependence for their services within these communities. Everyday status quo municipal politicians that are elected by the people tell us what is not possible. That is not their job. We are tired of this, but thankfully, what gives us oxygen is when we learn what is possible through progressive scholars and activists that are pushing the boundaries of social change with tireless work and research. And I'm thankful for their presence at this meeting today. As my Overbrook neighbor, Jesse Johal, said the other day, the population will not like the police more by the time you're up for re-election. The trajectory of public opinion is in motion, and it's only moving one way. The case needs to be made now for police budget cuts so that the bulk of the clawback doesn't happen later on when public opinion will lean towards realizing that there's no common sense in wanting to fund a broken status quo. I also reject the attempt by Ottawa Police to take ownership of our feelings by labeling calls to defund the police as an act of retribution. Holding power accountable isn't hateful rhetoric. It comes from a love for our community. It's our civic responsibility as citizens of the city. If you won't do it, then we will, plain and simple. The data also makes it clear that 2020 is a tipping point, as it is an especially active year for fatal police shootings. By June of this year, we had already reached the total number of police shootings for all of 2019. With that said, I dedicate my presentation to the memories of Vincent Gardner, Abdirahman Abdi, Greg Ritchie, Chantal Moore, DeAndre Campbell, Stuart Kevin Andrews, Ejaz Chowdhury, Regis Korchinski Paquette, Aisha Hudson, Sami Yatim, and the over 500 people killed by police in Canada over the last 20 years. Black Lives Matter, Black Trans Lives Matter, Indigenous Lives Matter, Two-Spirit Indigenous Lives Matter. The lives of people who are experiencing a mental health crisis also matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You obviously have a lot of passion